Well, the pressure is on as President Obama prepares to win support from both political parties this week while delivering his back-to-school and health care speeches.
Here to talk about this and other topics is political analyst Tom Serafin. And Tom, Education Chief Arnie Duncan, former CEO, head of CPR here, is saying that all the hoopla here was just silly. What did you make of everything that came out of this story?
Well, I think the White House kind of outfoxed the conservative pundits on the other side who were complaining about what they might do, what they may not do. They came out with this speech. I mean, the president is going to tell the children this morning, if you're quitting on your education, you're quitting on your country. I mean, wash your hands and make sure you don't go to school if you're sick. Don't get other people sick in your school. I mean, those are wonderful messages. That's God, apple pie, and country. So I think on this particular situation, even though the buildup might have been intended for another, the White House was smart enough to move quickly and move into this direction, and it's a beautiful speech.
You know, there's a lot of stuff going on for the president this week. He's got his health care speech to Congress tomorrow, of course, today, the speech to the school kids. There's been a huge problem, though, obviously, with one of the president's czars, self-professed communist Van Jones, who's made a number of controversial statements, including this. Let's take a listen.
You've never seen a Columbine done by a black child. Never. They always say, we can't believe it happened here. We can't believe it was these suburban white kids. It's only them. Now, a black kid might shoot another black kid. He's not going to shoot up the whole school.
Okay, so here's the issue. A lot of conservatives and even some lawmakers are now saying, okay, let's stop the czar process, because obviously they're not getting vetted through Congress, which means that if they were a cabinet member, they'd have to go through that. What's your thoughts about this?
Well, they've already acknowledged that, you know, with Senator Daschle and others, they weren't very good about going through that vetting process. I mean, the one thing about this administration is you don't have a lot of white hairs. Guys like me, I mean, guys that have been around for a long time. You have a lot of young people in this administration, and they have a tendency to move so quickly. We had such a great mandate. We swept into office, and we have to do all of these things. He's very good friends with Michelle and Valerie Jarrett, and we know those. We know Valerie Jarrett from Chicago and Michelle. I mean, those are fine people, but they never look deeper into his background. Now, the man has really been distinguished in the world of green and the environment, et cetera, but he is off the center on some of these other issues. I mean, communism, you know, went out with the Brady Bunch. I mean, it's been a long time since we, you know, look at communism as an attractive alternative. So, I mean, it's odd, it's not right, it's wrong, and unfortunately, the same thing that happened to President Obama 6 weeks ago when he had the news conference on health care. Everybody thought he was going to really push on health care, and then he made that comment about Professor Gates at Harvard. And then you went backwards, and then all of a sudden he lost the initiative on health care. This is the same problem here. He had to go. He went in the middle of the night over the weekend to kind of quell the situation with the media. It was a smart thing to do for the White House, whether he was pushed or whether he went. It was a smart move.
Well, speaking of health care, he is going to be addressing Congress tomorrow night. Is that going to be enough to sway the majority of Americans who, on a number of polls, have said they don't support this current reform bill?
Well, here's the problem. For the first time in years since I've been looking at polls, when you ask the re-elect question on congressional candidates, do you want your congressman or your senator re-elected, 47% of the people say no. No. Usually it's around 60%. Everybody loves their congressman. They hate the Congress. That's below 50%. So he's going to speak to an audience that sees their jobs in jeopardy in the year 2010. You know, his job approval is fallen down to somewhere between 52, 53, depending on what polls you're looking at.
Right.
The attitude about health care in this country is less than 40%, 38, 37, 39% as far as looking at something like this. They've changed the government option because of polling numbers. The response to government is negative to a public option. The president is going to have to talk to the country on Wednesday night, and he's really appealing to the conservatives and the moderates. Hey, let's do something. He may not want to go all the way to the option, but let's get something done. The last time this happened with the Democrats under Hillary and Bill Clinton in 1994, they passed nothing, and they ended up losing the Congress in '94.
Well, that's the bigger question. You know, you talk about the poll numbers. His number's lower than ever now for, you know, during his short term so far on presidency. And beyond this, what things does this have a bigger impact on his presidency if he doesn't get this health care plan pushed through?
Well, it has a, yes, it does have a, he makes him a more, he's more prone to the problems. Listen, you've got Afghanistan coming down. down the pike. He's got to make decisions on whether we move more troops there. The left wants to get out of Afghanistan. The right doesn't know what they want to do, and the people in the middle are just scared to death because of the deficits and the problems. And my kid's a Marine, and he's going to go to Afghanistan. We're not giving them troops. We're not giving them enough armaments, and we're giving them little cards to read before they shoot someone. I mean, we're fighting a political war right now rather than fighting a military conflict. And the military is not in charge, and that's the problem he's going to have to deal with eventually as well.
Political analyst Tom Seraphin, thanks for joining us this morning. Take care.